right? So our angles, it's a corner. Basically, the corner. You guys can see it's a corner made by two rays in this case. For their angles, they have two things that are important. One of them, the vertex. I'm going to ask you guys to identify the vertex. And then I'm also going to ask you guys to identify the sides of the angle. So vertex, for us to think of the vertex, see how the first letter of vertex looks like a corner? The letter V looks like a corner. I'm asking which point is at the corner of the angle. That's the vertex. In example number 1, our vertex is the point C. Remember with points, we just do one letter. So C is the vertex, right? Point C is the vertex. All I'm asking for vertex is which point is at the corner of the angle. Now for the sides, in this case, the sides is made by two rays. It could be two lines, it could be two segments, whatever makes. In this case, are two rays that start at the vertex. So I could say one of them, the side is the ray CB. The other is the ray CD. So the sides are rays that start at the vertex. So notice that both of my sides have started at the vertex. Now, for you guys on question number 2, what's the vertex of number 2? R. Nice. Sides, when it comes to sides, what are the sides of that angle? RQ and RS. The rays RQ and the ray RS. Now, on the quiz on Friday, you can easily write the little arrow thing on the top, right? You can easily write this by hand. On the quiz on Friday, you can do it. Now, when it comes to homework, it's kind of hard to type the angle CD or the angle CB, the ray. It's kind of hard to draw the little ray on top. So homework-wise, I'm going to give it to you as a multiple choice. Just homework, because it's hard to type. But on the quiz on Friday, you will have to write it down. Because I think on paper it's easy, but on the computer it's a little bit hard. So any questions on these? No? Now, another thing we're going to look in angles is how do we name them? Angles, we can name them in different ways. Right? In this case, I'm actually going to name it in 4 ways. I see there's 3 letters. Question number 3, there's 3 letters. One of them, I'm going to use all 3 letters. So I'm going to say angle HGF. That's one way. Another way, I can also call it angle FGH. If you're going to use all 3 letters, make sure the vertex is in the center. The other 2 doesn't matter. F could be first or H could be first. When you're using all 3 letters, make sure the vertex is in the center. Another way I can name this is angle G. I can just use the vertex. Now, that number 2, there's 2 ways how you guys are going to see numbers on angles. You guys could just see a number 2 by itself, or a number 2, and it looks like an exponent of 0. We call that 2 degrees. When we see the number 2 by itself, this one, that number 2 means just a name. So it's angle 2, name-wise. When you see a 2 with a little 0 on the very top as an exponent, that means 2 degrees. That's a measurement. So in this case, I see my number 2 in the center, just the 2 by itself. So I'm going to call this angle 2. Let me bring this up again. So I'm going to call this angle 2. This case, 2 is a name because it's not 2 degrees. Doesn't have the 0 as a degrees. It's a name. Notice I name it in 4 different ways. The same thing with question number 4. I'm going to give you guys one of them. Using 3 letters is angle CBA. Now using 3 letters, what's another name? ABC. Nice. The vertex is in the center. What's another name? Angle B or angle 1. I got both. Okay, cool. Angle B and angle 1. Those are the 4 names. On the quiz, I'm going to ask you, give me all 4 names. Now for the homework, I'm going to give you some names and I'm going to ask you, give me the wrong one. So I'm going to give you a name, 4 names. One of them is wrong. The other 3 are right. But I'm going to give you 4 names. I'm going to ask you which one is the wrong one for the homework. Now the quiz, you will have to give me all four names. Now, when it comes to measuring angles, we're going to use protractors. Protractors look like a little semicircle. The protractors have numbers on the outside. If you notice my zeros on the left, and I go all the way to 180 on the outside. Now, looking on the inside, my zeros on the right, and I go all the way to 180. Now, when we measure an angle, I could ask you guys, give me the measurement of angle AOB. So I'm gonna give you guys a protractor with a bunch of rays, but I'm gonna give you guys a specific one. Notice that that little M on the front, I call it measurement angle AOB. So I want to know how big is it. I see my A and my OB. I'm gonna literally highlight it in blue so we can see which angle I'm talking about. Now, A, let's see that ray A. My number on the outside is right between 30 and 40, right? So my number on the outside, I'm gonna say is 35. But I see my number on the inside is 145. Remember, it's crossing a number from outside and the inside number. Now B, my outside number is 60, my inside number is 120. It crosses an outside and an inside number. Now, for me to know how big is the angle, I'm gonna subtract the numbers. But make sure you use only outside numbers or only inside numbers. If I use outside numbers, I'm gonna go 60 minus 35. I'm using the outside numbers only. If I use the inside numbers only, I'm gonna go 145 minus 120. Inside numbers only. Either way, you use outside numbers only or inside numbers only, your measurement will end up being 25 degrees. But don't mix and match. So make sure you use outside numbers only or inside numbers only. Don't mix and match. And the reason why there's outside and inside numbers, if the angle's on the right, probably you want to use inside numbers because the numbers are smaller. If the angle's on the left, probably you want to use outside numbers because the small numbers are outside. So the creators of the protractor, they didn't know whether the angle is going to be on the right or the left. That's why they did both cases. So, but whatever you do, outside numbers only or inside numbers only, the answer should be the same. Any questions?